Starting off our list at number 10 is Charlie Sheen and Selma Blair. After being fired from his popular sitcom 2.5 Men, Charlie Sheen found himself in a new show called Anger Management, to which he starred alongside Selma Blair. Apparently, drama began when Blair criticized Sheen's lack of professionalism and horrible work ethic to the show's executives, claiming he was always late and took forever to learn his lines. Upon hearing this, Sheen retaliated by giving the producers an ultimatum: either he stays or she goes. Selma was fired from the show, to which she sued Sheen and Lionsgate for an unjust firing. However, Lionsgate's response was, Blair was going to be written off the show anyways, because America didn't want to see Charlie with just one girlfriend. Yep. That's the actual statement. In at number 9, we have LL Cool J and Jamie Foxx. Now this one gets really wild because the police had to be called. LL Cool J and Jamie Foxx were together on a football drama called Any Given Sunday. Even though they were meant to play rivals on screen, it seems it sparked a real rivalry off screen. Now the claims are different according to the source, but it's believed that LL Cool J punched Jamie Foxx in his helmeted face without warning and then began to hit him in the back of the head. Foxx then turned around, hit him right in the face, and so the production crew called the local police. No charges were actually pressed on either of the two, but LL Cool J did release a diss track for Jamie on his 2000 album Greatest of All Time. Shia LaBeouf and Alec Baldwin take the number 8 spot. Now it's fair to say we've done a lot of videos about Shia, and a majority of them confirm that he's a little crazy. Well, he definitely showed it when he was on set with Alec Baldwin in their Broadway production of Orphans. Baldwin claims that Shia came to set with a jailhouse mentality and began to send Baldwin videos where he was reciting entire scenes from memory. LaBeouf eventually told Baldwin that he was slowing him down, to which Baldwin then asked to be removed from the show altogether. Producers then made the call to fire Shia instead, to which Shia admits he actually started following Baldwin home after he got fired from the play. Yeah. I think Shia should just be forbidden from working with anyone ever again, but in this case he should specifically not be allowed to work with Alec Baldwin. At number 7 we have Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey. Say it ain't so! The Dirty Dancing pair had unbelievable chemistry on camera, but it's sad to say in real life their relationship was pretty heated, and not in a good way. Swayze revealed in his autobiography that Miss Grey was too much of a baby. We did have a few moments of friction when we were tired after a long day of shooting, he wrote, adding that she seemed particularly emotional, sometimes bursting into tears if someone criticized her. Other times she slipped into silly mood swings, forcing us to do scenes over and over again when she'd start laughing. Later in his autobiography, Patrick Swayze complains about how annoying Jennifer had become, as she did not understand how exhausted he was from having to pick her up constantly after she kept ruining takes. Number 6, James Franco and Tyrese Gibson. James Franco, similar to that of Shia LaBeouf, is well known for his approach to method acting. While filming Annapolis with Tyrese Gibson, Franco refused to break character. Considering the film is about a new naval recruit who eventually faces off with his commanding officer, we can kind of understand why being around Franco during this time could get a little tedious. Apparently when the two would practice their fight scenes, Franco would full on hit Gibson even though they were just practicing. Tyrese told James to lighten up, but the actor never did. Gibson went on record to say, "I never want to work with him again," and I'm sure he feels the same way. He even went on to say in his 2007 Elle interview that he wishes he could blow James Franco's house up. At the halfway point with The Rock and Vin Diesel. Now I for one for sure do not want to get into a fight with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and the same goes for Vin Diesel, but apparently the Fast and Furious castmates hate working together. In 2017, Johnson took to social media to criticize Diesel's work ethic, stating, "Some conduct themselves as stand-up men and true professionals, while others don't. The ones that don't are too chicken shit to do anything about it anyways. Candy asses." TMZ reports that Johnson gets tired of Diesel's bad attitude while shooting, and Diesel's always showing up late to set. The two are still under contract to appear in some Fast and Furious movies, but they are never to be put in the same room to do press. And there's a reason for that. In at number 4, we have Will Smith and Janet Hubert. Okay, 90s sitcom lovers, you'll know this one, because mysteriously after 3 seasons on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Aunt Vivian, who was played by Hubert at the time, was recast with Daphne Maxwell Reid. The reason for the recast? Well, apparently Hubert and Will Smith did not get along at all. Smith said in an interview, "I can say straight up that Janet Hubert wanted the show to be the Aunt Viv of Bel-Air show." Co-star Alfonso Ribeiro, who played Carlton on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, went on to call Hubert nuts, with Hubert firing back, claiming Smith had gotten her fired when all she did was stand up to him, as she refused to be reprimanded by him. Years later, Janet called Will an asshole and an egomaniac in an interview, with Will responding saying she's brilliant as an artist. Lea Michele and Naya Rivera take it at number 3. Fox's hit show Glee gave us some amazing powerhouse talent, 2 of those being Lea Michele and Naya Rivera. In her memoir, Sorry Not Sorry, Rivera wrote about Michele, saying, "We were both strong-willed and competitive, not just with each other, but with everyone, and that's not a good mix." She continued, noting that Lea Michele, who played the lead role on Glee, wasn't pleased with sharing the spotlight as Naya's character, Santana, began to get bigger storylines and more screen time. It got so bad to the point that the two refused to speak a word to each other for the final season of Glee, so writers had to shrink Naya's role, which rumors have said was at the request of Lea. Coming close to the end, we have Robert Downey Jr. and Terrence Howard at number 2. Now, it goes without saying that Robert Downey Jr. is essentially King Marvel. Especially if you've seen Endgame, you know he's really helped shape the MCU world by playing Iron Man. However, back when it all started, his co-star Terrence Howard was expected to star alongside him for 3 Marvel films. Howard was dumped by the franchise and replaced with Don Cheadle in the sequel. Why, you may ask? Well, apparently Robert Downey Jr. asked for a pay raise after Iron Man 1, so Marvel had to make some budget cuts, and they offered to cut Howard's salary drastically, which left Howard furious, and thus he was replaced. Iron Man himself has never stated anything about the situation. However, Terrence Howard has noted that if it wasn't for him, Robert would not have played the beloved superhero. So we think it's safe to say that someone's a little bitter with their ex-co-star. Last but not least, in at number 1, we have Bill Murray and Lucy Liu. Okay, so these two are some powerhouse names in Hollywood, both whom have earned their respected names on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And they're both reportedly really nice people, so it's crazy to think that they're forbidden from working together again. Well, in the movie franchise Charlie's Angels, Bill Murray played Bosley, the assistant to the mysterious Charlie, while Lucy Liu played one of Charlie's angels, Alex. Essentially, while on set, Bill Murray disliked Lucy Liu's acting so much that he turned to each of the Charlie's Angels, pointing at Cameron Diaz and Drew Barrymore, and said, "I get why you're here, and you've got talent." And then he turned to Lucy Liu and said, "But what the hell are you doing here? You can't act." This enraged Lucy Liu so much that she began to attack Murray, and security had to be called to separate the two. The feud was so bad that Bill Murray was recast in the Charlie's Angels sequel and went on record to say that the movie's director deserved to die pierced by a lance.
Coming in at number 10 is Hayden Christensen. Hayden seemed to be on the cusp of stardom before he was finally cast as Anakin in the Star Wars prequel movies. For any hopeful celebrity, being cast as a lead in Star Wars would be a dream come true, and it has been for the likes of Daisy Ridley and Mark Hamill. But for Hayden Christensen, it is the movie series that is responsible for his downfall. After he built his resume with roles like Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, and Life as a House, he obtained the role of Anakin Skywalker in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. But when the movie finished, he all but disappeared. While now Star Wars has been revived to a status almost similar to its heyday in the 70s and 80s, when Hayden starred in the prequels, it was far from the reception they had hoped for. His role was singled out as particularly terrible, with the actor being criticized as being, quote, timid and stiff, and comparable more to soapy teen dramas than to an actual A-list movie actor. After his appearance on the prequel trilogy ended with Revenge of the Sith in 2005, Christensen had won the Razzie Award for Worst Supporting Actor for his work. Coupling the terrible reception of what was supposed to be his big break with a string of badly received movies that no one even remembers anymore, it seems like Hayden is known more for a flop actor than anything. And now Hayden lives out his life on a rural patch of farmland, and acts in about 1 movie a year, though he stated that he wants to be extremely choosy now about the roles that he thinks actually suit him. Number 9, Katherine Heigl. After her breakout role in Grey's Anatomy, which remains her most high-profile gig, audiences thought they would be seeing a lot more of Katherine Heigl. But it was also this role that became the catalyst for her immediate downfall and eventual career stumper. 2 years after she started on Grey's, Katherine starred in the movie Knocked Up with Seth Rogen. It made modest money, but nothing particularly amazing, Then she starred in the rom-com 27 Dresses, and in 2008 she was named as the most desirable woman according to AskMen.com. Then she did something that to this day her career has never recovered from. In a statement, Catherine announced that she had pulled her own name from the Emmys contention because she didn't think her role on season 4 of Grey's Anatomy was, quote, given the material to warrant the win. Quote, I did not feel that I was given the material this season to warrant an Emmy nomination, and in an effort to maintain the integrity of an academic organization, I withdrew my name from contention. In addition, I did not want to potentially take away the opportunity from an actress who was given such materials. People deemed it as a direct insult to the series creator Shonda Rhimes, and rumors started swirling around that Catherine was a major diva on set. Then, apparently she just stopped showing up to set on Grey's, and Shonda got to work to immediately release Heigl from her contract. Her diva status was her downfall, as after her abrupt leave from Grey's, Heigl failed to gain even a fraction of the star power she had been riding on for years prior. Nowadays, she's attempting to claw her way back up to the limelight and has even replaced Meghan Markle on Suits, but who knows if she'll ever recover even a fraction of the star power she once had. Coming in at number 8 is Macaulay Culkin. Beloved child actor known for his role in one of the biggest Christmas movies of all time, Home Alone. Macaulay was on his way to becoming one of the biggest names in Hollywood. Beginning his career at only 4 years old, by 10 years old he was nominated for a Golden Globe. But when he was 14, Macaulay started gaining more independence and realized that he didn't want to act anymore. He retired in his teens and lived for a number of years off of the cool $18 million he made from his child acting. Since then, Macaulay was barely in anything until very recently with a few cameos and appearances on mediocre television shows. Nowadays, his most notable work is appearing in American Horror Story double feature and working for Gucci of all things as a model in their winter 2021 role. At number 7 is Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser was at the top of the world in the 90s for his comedic timing, affable persona, and old school Hollywood looks. He's well loved for his role in George of the Jungle and The Mummy. The Mummy movies ceased in 2008, but were arguably his most famous titles, and he was really well regarded for his roles in both drama and comedy. Then he transitioned to being behind the camera, directing a few movies that achieved critical success. And then he just vanished. The actor had lost his mother around 2016, around the time the sad Brendan Fraser memes cropped up, and it devastated him. Couple that with his divorce from the mother of his 3 children, Afton Smith, and the actor fell into a deep depression. Then in 2018, he accused Hollywood Foreign Press Association president of inappropriate action towards him back in 2003, and he said that that was the real reason why he disappeared. He was effectively blacklisted from Hollywood and refused work. Since then, he has received a massive reprisal and a newfound fan base who are committed to supporting Brendan, who many believe got a very raw deal by Hollywood back in the day, who continually fat shames him as he gained weight during the loss of his mother and wife. He is now also slowly making a return to movies with a few roles in television, and now he's set to be in the newest Martin Scorsese film and as a supervillain in Batgirl next year. I'm so excited for it, I love him. In at number 6 is Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was a staple in physical comedy through his slapstick roles in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and as Count Olaf in Series of Unfortunate Events. He became the first actor in history to earn $20 million for a single film and was at the top of his game in the mid-90s. He wasn't just a comedic actor, however, working in critically acclaimed roles such as Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and The Truman Show. Then Carrey sort of dropped off. Behind the mask of happy-go-lucky slapstick comedy was an extremely depressed person who sometimes was so depressed that he couldn't even show up to work. He also started to become a little problematic for his rather, well, wrong views that medications can cause autism, of which his son was diagnosed with in 2005. He became the face of the movement that has been debunked by countless scientific articles. With all of these combined reasons, alongside being bereaved by the passing of his then girlfriend, Carrey's career slowed considerably. Every once in a while he would act in a few movies like Sonic the Hedgehog, but overall, outside of his SNL appearance, he's been relatively far removed from the spotlight. He's now known more for his off-putting personality and strange demeanor. In 2017, he went viral for his comments at New York Fashion Week stating, quote, "There is no me, there are just things happening. Here's the thing, it's not our world, we don't matter, that's the good news." Ooh. He's also entirely retreated from social media, with the last post being a comic art of his character from The Truman Show's final scene where he steps out of the surveillance world he's been living in. And at number 5 is Amanda Bynes. She was one of Disney's most beloved child actors and was the face of teen movies for quite some time. Starring in movies like She's the Man, What a Girl Wants, Easy A, Hairspray, and many others, her name was practically a household one, especially if you had kids in the 2010s. However, now it's been quite a long time since we've seen Amanda grace the silver screen. Easy A in 2010 would be her final movie role before she announced an indefinite hiatus from acting that same year due to personal issues. She wasn't heard from really until 2014 when she had a very public Twitter-fueled breakdown due to her issues with bipolar disorder. It was also revealed that she had been placed under conservatorship, much like Britney Spears a year prior. This means that the star is unable to make any financial decisions without her mother's permission. Now, as of recently, Bynes isn't acting at all, and it will likely stay that way for some time, as she's currently appealing to her fans online to aid her in escaping her conservatorship, which was extended to March 2023. She's also set her sights on redirecting her career now that she practically can't get any jobs in Hollywood with the conservatorship towards fashion. She is currently attempting to earn her degree at the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. And at number 4, we've got Lindsay Lohan, who was at the absolute top of her game in the early 2010s. Another child actor whose downfall was sadly recorded all too well, Lindsay Lohan was a bona fide A-list celebrity by 10 years old. She was named a top icon for teens in the 2000s alongside Britney Spears and Paris Hilton. While there are many factors that led to her being blacklisted from Hollywood, a large root cause of it all was her substance issues that landed her in trouble with the law quite a few times. Her rap sheet is a little too big to name all of them, but drunk driving, probation violations, trafficking of substances, and endangering others are just some of Lindsay's offenses. She was considered a hazard on set and just stopped getting job offers. She struggled to find work for a long time as she was also in and out of rehab. By 2013, she was having financial issues and her acting accomplishments had been almost entirely run over by her bad record, so she decided to move to Dubai just to escape it all. Now, however, Lindsay is set to make a comeback of her own volition by starring in her own romantic comedy called Christmas in Wonderland, which is set to release on Netflix sometime soon, we don't know when. Number 3 is Winona Ryder. While most kids today know her for Stranger Things, Winona was in her prime in the 2000s as the face of the oddball for movies like Heathers, Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, and Reality Bites. She represented an era. Now, however, her career drop-off has been used as a defining example of the double standard of how men and women are treated in Hollywood. Winona Ryder was blacklisted and shamed from Hollywood because she was caught shoplifting in 2001. While other actors were profiting off of their insane personas, shoplifting was the nail in the coffin for Winona, who, even to this day, has not fully recovered in terms of stardom. She was on top of the world, and now she basically appears in television and the occasional movie role. By the time she was able to return to Hollywood, she had aged out of being a potential love interest, and now she's playing the mom of Spock at only 37 years old. She was refused work because her good girl image was tarnished, and sadly, despite still sort of being around, her reputation went out of the window as soon as she was arrested in 2001. Coming in second place for A-listers who can't find work anymore is Randy Quaid. And what I would argue is one of the weirdest departures from Hollywood of all time, the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation actor was at the top of his game in the 80s. As the unwelcomed, uninvited visitor in the raunchy Christmas comedy that had become a staple in Christmas movie lovers' homes everywhere, he was a well-known staple in Hollywood. He also starred in a few other blockbuster hits as NASCAR owners and loving father roles. In 2005, he was an angry rancher in Brokeback Mountain, and he was awarded a Golden Globe and an Emmy for his portrayal of Elvis's manager in the miniseries Elvis. And then in 2010, amid weird legal troubles that prevented Randy from acting for nearly 10 years, things seemed to have gone a little south, or should I say north, because Randy and his wife fled to Canada from Texas. Before that, he had begun to show erratic behavior, getting aggressive with co-stars on set, showing up in inappropriate outfits, go look that one up yourself, it's a little funny if not kinda sad, and he got banned for aggression from Actors Equality Association. He states all of this is because of the Hollywood Star Whackers, a group of critics who put hits on actors they don't like. He claimed this is how Heath Ledger passed away and that Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan are next. He's been in and out of jail for vandalism and skipping out on court hearings. Very recently, he hired a private investigator to see where all of his money was going amid financial ruin. The investigator determined his wife was stealing from him to pay for illicit substances and a shopping habit, but he refuted the claims as impossible and remains with her in Vancouver to this day. And now, the #1 actor who can't find work anymore is Shia LaBeouf. Shia is another child actor we uncomfortably watched crash and burn. After getting a start with the Disney Channel through Even Stevens and the movie Holes, Shia was doing really well for himself as an up-and-coming star. Then he started to crash and burn amid substance abuse issues. He started becoming aggressive while on set and became a hazard, so much so that he was semi-blacklisted from Hollywood. Couple that with some badly received movies, including the awful Indiana Jones movie he did, he couldn't find work anywhere. Instead, he turned to internet conspiracy theories and weird performance art that often led him the target of online ridicule. Then in 2019, set to finally make a comeback, Shia was working on a movie he would direct and star in called Honey Boy. It was there that he met FKA Twigs, whom he would eventually date. After the relationship ended, the star alleges that Shia physically and emotionally harmed her to an extent that left her with physical and psychological scarring. That was the final nail in an already puttering coffin, where now he seems to be full-blown cancelled. Quote, "He is not an easy guy to work with. He's angry and he clashes constantly with cast and crew, and now he hurts women too. He's done," is a quote taken from the source close to the situation. Amid the lawsuit, he's basically said that he admits to having done it too. And now it seems like Shia will struggle to find any work with such an awful reputation shadowing his entire career.
Taking off this list, number 10 is Doja Cat. She was cancelled earlier this year in May after some things from her past resurfaced and people started to call her racist. This was not the first time that people have tried to cancel her. She was actually slammed in 2018 for using a slur, but an apology allowed people to get over it. But this time around, people were not so forgiving and started a trending hashtag Doja is over party. It happened after videos surfaced of Doja participating in a video chat where they used racist language. But an old song of hers also resurfaced, and in it she used racist language that targeted at victims of police brutality. With everything going on with the Black Lives Matter movement, people called her racist and have refused to accept her apology this time. It's not looking too good. Next up at number 9 is Lea Michele. The Glee star, who definitely looks sweet and innocent on the outside, faced a lot of heat after one of her co-stars claimed she was racist towards her. One of her Glee castmates, Samantha Marie Ware, said she had made comments about her wig and even said that she would go to the bathroom in it, is the proper way of saying it, and number 2 at that. Some of Lea's brand partners dropped her after these allegations surfaced, including the brand HelloFresh, who released a public statement. Lea did issue an apology and said that her comments were always a joke and that she never meant to hurt anyone. People were also really bothered more recently after her co-star Naya Rivera tragically died and she didn't comment or share a tribute for her. She posted a photo of Naya to her Instagram story with no comment, and we all know a story only lasts 24 hours, so people were both surprised and disappointed in this. Moving on to number 8 is Taylor Selfridge. The MTV star was fired from her show Teen Mom OG after racist comments she made in the past came to surface. In June, it was announced that the network cut ties with her and cancelled her upcoming baby special that she was going to be having with her boyfriend Corey and their newborn baby. Screenshots had surfaced showing some of her past tweets which were racist towards African Americans and Asians. One of them said, "Father's Day, the most confusing day in the ghetto." Taylor did apologize and said she was just young and stupid and that her past does not define who she is as a person today. She also claims that she chose to walk away from the MTV show, but MTV has said that they fired her. So. Sliding into number 7 is Shane Dawson. The YouTuber landed himself in the center of controversy after new accusations came forward and old footage showed him being very inappropriate and making racist comments. One of the most controversial pieces of footage that surfaced was a video of Shane making inappropriate gestures and comments about a poster of Willow Smith, who's only 11 years old at the time in the poster. Everything escalated very quickly and other celebrities got involved, and YouTube actually made the decision to demonetize Shane's YouTube channels, all 3 of them, so that he is unable to make any money off any of his content. He posted a video 2 months ago where he issued an apology and took responsibility for his actions, and he has not posted anything ever since then. He's been keeping pretty quiet for a while now on all his social media platforms. Coming into number 6 is Amanda Bynes. The actress has been struggling for a while, and we first started to realize it in 2010 when she retired from acting when it seemed like it was at the highest point of her career. Reports revealed she had multiple DUI charges, and her tweets started to get very erratic and completely inappropriate. Her fans learned that she was struggling with an alcohol and drug addiction and was also dealing with a lot of mental health issues. She has been in and out of treatment centers for years now, and in 2018 she got clean and announced that she was going to make a comeback and return to acting. Fans were thrilled. I was so excited. But then we never saw her in anything until she popped back up on social media with a face tattoo, a septum piercing, and news that she was engaged. However, just 3 weeks after that, her and her new fiance split, and reports announced that she was back in a treatment center. Halfway through at number 5, we have Amber Heard. If you've been following the $50 million lawsuit between her and Johnny Depp, then you would understand why she is on this list. In all honesty, it really depends who wins this lawsuit and how it's going to affect both of their careers, but some pretty messed up evidence has surfaced showing Amber in a very bad light. After she made legal claims against him saying that he beat her and faking bruises on her face, audio recordings captured her admitting that she made up those claims and that no one was going to believe his side of the story. Like, she literally says that. She said that she was going to take him for all of his money. But the lawsuit is filled with a lot of really disturbing and strange claims against one another. We're still waiting for a final outcome. But people are already attacking her online, and they even started a petition to have her fired from the movie Aquaman 2. And it has hundreds of thousands of signatures. Like a lot, like 500,000 I think. Rolling into number 4 is Lindsay Lohan. She was once one of the biggest actors in Hollywood, but her whole life changed when she was sentenced to 90 days in jail after a DUI charge. It was her violation of her probation after the DUI charge that ultimately landed her behind bars. Since then, her career has never been the same, and she left Hollywood to move to Dubai, where paparazzi is illegal and she could live more of a private life. Fans were thrilled in 2019 when she announced she had her own MTV reality show all about her beach club in Mykonos. The show was called Lindsay Lohan's Beach Club and was cancelled after just 1 season after the club itself shut down. She spoke about it and said, "The show was moving into a new direction, perhaps not enough drama in my life for reality TV formula, and that's not where I am in life." Fans were really excited to see her make a comeback, but then she didn't really have a comeback. In the 3rd spot is Danny Masterson. You probably know him as Hyde from the hit TV series That 70s Show. After that series ended, he found success for starring on the Netflix series called The Ranch, where he co-starred alongside Ashton Kutcher once again. But he lost everything after allegations surfaced accusing him of sexual misconduct and He's very involved in the Scientology church, so he was protected by the church for a while, but then the Me Too movement brought everything to light. Netflix ended up announcing in December 2017 that he was fired from the show. As for the allegations, he was arrested in June 2020, pretty recently, after being charged for 3 women in separate incidents between 2001 to 2003. His bail is set to $3.3 million, and he could face up to 45 years to life in prison if convicted. In spot number 2 is Ellen DeGeneres. The comedian and talk show host is under some serious fire right now after people started to claim she mistreated employees at her studio. The claims got so intense that her show and its staff members are all being investigated right now. 2 of the show's co-executive producers were accused of sexual harassment, and during the investigation they were fired from the show even though they personally denied the claims. Former employees and her past bodyguards have come forward with claims saying that she made sexist remarks, racist remarks, and did not allow medical leaves or her staff to attend family funerals, which is pretty illegal, I think. Ellen is denying these claims, but still apologizes for anyone who had a bad experience working with her. The investigation is still ongoing, but there are rumors that her show could get cancelled. Then what? I love her show. In the number 1 spot is Britney Spears. A worldwide campaign has broke out all over the internet called #FreeBritney. After strange behavior on social media and documents revealed online, people are very worried for her because her dad has legal control over her financial assets and her personal life. For the last 12 years, her father has had legal conservatorship over her and her assets, and he actually has control to restrict her from visitors, her career decisions, her money, and apparently even her social media posts. Her sister, Jamie Lynn Spears, came forward and is now asking that all the assets of the SJB Revocable Trust be moved into one or more accounts with Fidelity Brokerage Services, which she controls. Her sister also spoke on social media about Britney's mental health struggles and is hoping that she can help her. As for Britney's music career, she kind of talks about it here and there on social media, and she said that there are no plans to perform again as of right now. Starting off this countdown at number 10, we have Phoebe Cates. At the peak of her career in the 80s, she would be cast in over 20 movies and was best known for starring in Gremlins and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Fame came fast for the former actress, and with her new and busy career, she was thriving in the industry. So while being at the top of your career, why would you all of a sudden just end it at such a young age? Well, it turns out she was more concerned with motherhood than anything, and after trying to be a mother of 2 and a full-time actress, Phoebe decided to become a full-time mom instead. It has been 30 years since leaving the big screen, and overall she's actually kept a very low profile while also opening up her own boutique in New York City. So apparently, rumor has it that if you actually go to her boutique, you might see her in there. Moving along to the next spot at number 9 is Terrence Howard. The American actor has starred in numerous films and TV shows, but you'll probably recognize him most from the movie Iron Man or the TV series Empire. Once Terrence finished his role in the 5-year running show Empire, he vowed that he would never act again. He said that quitting acting meant that he didn't need to pretend anymore, and even though his future plans were unknown, he knew he wanted to focus on bringing truth to the world. Terrence would later go on more in depth of the truth of his retirement, where he says that he spent 37 years in the industry pretending to be people that he isn't. He began making discoveries of his personal life and goals, and he believes that he would rather be teaching the truth rather than fictional. A little vague of an explanation, but whatever makes him happy. I'm still not understanding the truth part. Like, let us know the truth rather than saying I want to speak the truth, you know? Moving on to number 8 is Rick Moranis. The Canadian actor may not ring a bell until you hear that he was the main character in the childhood classic Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Legendary movie. I loved that movie. That was so fun. His acting career was filled mostly by 80s comedy movies, as he starred in Ghostbusters, The Flintstones, and Parenthood. Having a successful career in the industry and well-known movies under his name, he would suddenly just disappear from the acting scene, and no one really knew why at the time. The sudden retirement was sadly due to the death of his wife, who passed away from cancer. Because of this, Rick would completely shift his time to dedicate himself to raising his 2 children, and he became a stay-at-home dad. The hiatus was only supposed to be a break, but eventually the break led to him not working on any movies ever since then. The former actor confesses that he does miss the people and nature of the film industry, as parenting is just a very different lifestyle, but he made it clear that he has no regrets about his career decisions. Moving on to the next celebrity on this list, at number 7 we have Karen Parsons. The retired actress is most known for her beloved character on the culture-defining show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. After the show ended in 1996, it would have been likely that fans would follow Karen to her other acting endeavors, but she seemingly wasn't able to find success in any other roles. After constant devastation and little to show for it, she grew very frustrated and eventually would lose her passion for acting, making her just move on to other things. She started working for a non-profit foundation called The Sweet Blackberry, which is a charity that is determined to teach children about Black history heroes through films. In 2019, she also released a children's novel called How High the Moon, and then in 2020, another book called Flying Free. Moving on to the next spot at number 6 is Peter Ostrom. You might not know Peter just by his name, but you'll definitely know him from his iconic role in the 1971 Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, as he played the main character, Charlie. After filming finished, the child star would be offered a 3-movie part deal, but Peter did not sign the contract. Peter's role in Willy Wonka would be his first and his last, as he would decide to quit his acting career right before it took off. at the age of 12. The quick decision would be made simply because he just fell in love with a different profession, I guess, or passion at the time since he was 12. The former child star enjoyed watching veterinarians at work on the animals that his family had, and because of this experience, it single-handedly changed his future as he became a veterinarian himself. Giving up the spotlight to become a veterinarian may seem like an odd decision, but acting was just not his passion, he says, and he found that career passion with being a veterinarian. Damn, he really chose horses over Willy Wonka movies. Taking the halfway spot at number 5 is Angus T. Jones. You may not recognize the name because, I wouldn't, but you definitely know him as the kid from the sitcom 2.5 Men. He played in the show from 2003 all the way to 2013, and it seemed like we watched him basically grow up, as he started the show at just 9 years old, and when he left the show he was 19. At one point in 2010 he was the highest paid child star in television, so it may come as a shock to you when he left just a few years later. The real reason that the young star left the show in Hollywood in general was because he became very dedicated to his faith and actually started slamming the TV show for how vulgar it was. He was in a moral conflict by being on the show because he just didn't feel that it followed his religion. So he eventually called it quits because of his religious beliefs and became a more normal young adult by attending college. The former actor would go on to study environmental studies, but would later transfer his major to Jewish studies. Now, the former child star is living in LA and is working as president of an event entertainment company. Taking the countdown by storm, at number 4 is held by the child star Mara Wilson. You probably know her for her role in Matilda or Miss Doubtfire, but have you ever wondered where the promising young actress went? I always wondered, until I started this job and I found out. Well, she played numerous characters as a child star, and instead of continuing her acting career, she backed away from the industry at the young age of 13. Moving on to the future, in 2016 she became a writer and released an autobiography depicting her accidental fame, as she called it. The book highlighted the now retired actress and her struggle with growing older and feeling as if her appearance didn't fit the Hollywood standard. Furthermore, in her book she states that at 13 she was faced with a decision to get cosmetic surgery, audition for cute and funny friend characters, or just accept herself and give up her acting career for good. And well, we all know what decision she made because I already said it. Now she's a full-time writer and director and has chosen a whole new life for herself. Moving on to one of the top 3 spots, at number 3 is Jack Gleason. The former actor has only been part of a handful of roles, but one of them includes the fan favorite TV series Game of Thrones. Jack played one of the main characters in the series from 2011 to 2014, but hasn't played in anything since. Due to the success of the show, Jack had the opportunity of acting for a living full time, but decided against it for very understandable reasons. In a statement made in an interview, Jack said that he stopped because he wasn't enjoying it as much as he used to. He mentioned that acting used to be something he did for fun with his friends or sometimes in the summer. It was once something that he very much enjoyed, but when you make a living from something, it kind of just changes your relationship with it sometimes. So once his time on Game of Thrones came to an end, he felt some sort of relief and just decided that his acting career would come to an end altogether. After his retirement, he went on to study philosophy in Dublin. Coming in our second place, we have Daniel Day-Lewis. The talented British actor has won 3 Oscars, all for Best Actor, 4 BAFTA awards, and has even been knighted by Queen Elizabeth II. But his acting days in Hollywood are over after his representative released a statement in 2017 stating that Daniel will no longer be working as an actor, adding that it was a private decision and that he will not be making any further comments on the subject. This statement was released after receiving his 3rd and final Oscar for his role in Phantom Thread. So it came as a surprise, because he just won. After being silent on the matter for quite some time, Daniel would later confess in an interview that quitting acting was something he had to do. This was due to overwhelming amount of sadness he faced while working on the film Phantom Thread. He even acknowledged that before making the film, he had no intention of quitting, so it's basically the movie's fault. Daniel also mentioned that he still can't quite figure out exactly what triggered him to quit for good after that movie, but said that he just needed to start to believe in the responsibility and values of what it means to be an actor. Now, being retired for a few years, he feels a different type of sadness, but in a good nostalgic way, he says, when looking back at his acting days. He could come back at any moment, really, right? You can leave and come back. Making our way to number 1 is Janet McCurdy. Former child star, played a leading role in Nickelodeon show iCarly and would move on to co-star on Sam and Cat alongside Ariana Grande. That being said, her acting career would not go further beyond Nickelodeon, and it came to an end in 2014. Though it was short-lived, she had a very successful career in Hollywood, but confessed that she resented it. This resentment was due to many factors. Firstly, it was because she started acting at 6 years old, which she was put into acting by her mom, and by 10 she was the main financial support of her family. She never wanted to be in the industry, but forced herself to continue because she felt pressured to do so for the well-being of her family. The former actress grew extremely unhappy, especially when she was at the peak of her career. When she initially made the decision to call it quits, her agents and managers said that she would be crazy to leave during such a high part in her career, but she stuck to her word and she hasn't looked back since. With the 2021 reboot of her show iCarly, she still would not get involved, which fans were genuinely surprised by. But thankfully, after announcing her retirement, she went on to become a writer and director, giving her a lot more satisfaction in her career.
In at number 10, Terrence Howard. Back in 2008, when the Marvel Universe kicked off with the first Iron Man film, most of the cast would soon become key players in what would be a very successful franchise. Terrence Howard was the original War Machine and Tony Stark's sidekick slash, well, babysitter. In past interviews when Terrence was first starting out, even he realized that he was difficult to work with. After his first starring role in the film Hustle and Flow, Howard told interviewers that the reason he isn't in the limelight is a direct result of how difficult he can be to work with. Unfortunately for Terrence, Marvel Studios is equally difficult to work with, and in the early days of filming, they just started cleaning house. If anyone gave them the slightest issue, they were replaced at the next available opportunity. On top of reports coming from the set of Iron Man that he was living up to this reputation, it was also noted that director Jon Favreau wasn't exactly loving his performance. Then by the time Iron Man 2 rolled around, he would soon be replaced by Don Cheadle. The saddest part of this story is looking back at that first Iron Man film where Terrence sees the War Machine suit and says, "Next time." Little did he know, there would never be a next time. In at number 9, Brie Larson. When Brie Larson was confirmed to play Captain Marvel, the comic book trolls bombarded the Rotten Tomatoes page with negative reviews before the film was even released. Part of the reason fans were upset with this new Marvel character was mostly due to how much they pushed the fact that she was a woman, as if there was never any female superheroes before her. Fans correctly noted how Wonder Woman was able to allow the character to just speak for herself when it came to sending a message of female empowerment. Although with Captain Marvel, there was almost too much of a focus on her gender being the reason that she was a hero. Perhaps the main reason she had become difficult to work with was that Larson's own politics began creeping in during press junkets. In what was a PR nightmare, Brie made several comments about how there were too many white men in Hollywood, which even included the critics that review the movies. She's not wrong, but it's also a very hostile way to start your MCU journey, especially considering that most of her castmates are, well, white men. In at number 8, Natalie Portman. In another stunning example of identity politics spoiling casting choices, Natalie Portman originally left the MCU because of a female director being fired. Portman was locked in to do the Thor sequel, but after top executives decided to drop Patty Jenkins as the director, Natalie was furious. She also made a point of letting every news outlet know just how deeply upset she was by the decision. Natalie wanted to quit immediately following Jenkins' departure out of protest, but she was contractually obligated to finish the film. Although one of the most surprising things to happen at the 2019 San Diego Comic-Con was the announcement that Portman would be returning to the MCU for an appearance in Endgame, as well as the next installment of the Thor solo series. So she can't be that hard to work with. In at number 7, Edward Norton. When The Incredible Hulk was released, no one really considered that this would officially be the second entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At the time, Edward Norton was an excellent choice to take on the Jekyll and Hyde scientist Bruce Banner. Although once the film came out, rumors started circling that Norton was very difficult to work with on set. One insider report claimed that he insisted on rewriting the script himself. These claims were confirmed a decade later by Ed himself during the roast of Bruce Willis, where he utilized his time on stage to take shots at Marvel. Norton would go on to say that he thought they should at least try to make one Marvel movie that was at least as good as the worst Chris Nolan movie. Major shade. Although this hostility is not out of place, shortly after he was fired, Kevin Feige released a statement saying, "Our decision is definitely not based on monetary factors, but instead rooted in the need for an actor who embodies the creativity and collaborative spirit of our other talented cast members." Fair enough. In at number 6, Gwyneth Paltrow. Even though Gwyneth Paltrow has been part of the MCU since its inception, she clearly only is paying attention to the paychecks. During an episode of the Netflix show Chef's Table, she completely forgot that she was in Spider-Man Homecoming. And even worse was that she had no idea Samuel L. Jackson was a member of the MCU, even though she had been in 5 films with him at the time. Although at 46, Paltrow wasn't interested in dressing up in a superhero suit anymore and was very vocal about this upon her departure from the franchise following Endgame. Gwyneth told Variety magazine that she doesn't see herself committing to any more sequels and that she really only got involved because she was friends with director Jon Favreau. In at number 5, Idris Elba. Most actors that are part of the MCU see it as a blessing for their career, which is a lot considering that most of Hollywood shied away from superhero films because they didn't want to be pigeonholed. Even though Idris Elba had a key role in the franchise, he still believed in the latter and actually referred to working in Marvel movies as torture. Specifically, he was referring to his role in Thor 2 and the reshoots required after he had wrapped on the film Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. Idris elaborated on this scene, specifically when he told media outlets, "I'm actually falling down from a spaceship, so they had to put me in a harness in this green screen studio, and in between takes I was stuck there. Fake hair stuck on my head with glue, this effing helmet while they reset. And I'm thinking 24 hours ago, I was Mandela. I was literally walking in this man's boots. Within 6 months, we were all so in love with this film that we had made. I was Mandela, practically, then there I was, in this stupid harness with this wig and this sword and these contact lenses. It ripped my heart out." And that statement ripped mine out. We love you, Idris. Why would you be so difficult to work with? In at number 4, Mickey Rourke. Oscar winner Mickey Rourke famously hated starring in Iron Man 2, even saying after his starring villain role that Marvel heads diluted his character Ivan Vanko to a one-dimensional bad guy, adding that creative control rested with some nerd with a pocket full of money calling the shots. Mickey Rourke is the kind of actor that always wants to add more layers to his character, and although they initially agreed to this, he was surprised when the decision makers pulled the rug out from underneath his intended performance. Mickey went on to say, "I'm not a Marvel fan once I did a movie for Marvel and they cut the whole goddamn thing out. When you bring it to the table, it's really disappointing when they cut things out." According to reports, Rourke did not take this decision lightly and would continuously be a pain to work with on each day that he was scheduled to film. In at number 3, Vin Diesel. There's almost no end to the stories about Vin Diesel being hard to work with. The star has been accused of hitting on interviewers and stirring feuds with co-stars. Most notably was his recent feud with Dwayne Johnson. When Vin Diesel started to voice the character of Groot, everyone absolutely loved the character. Luckily for Vin Diesel, he never really had to directly interact or work with other actors in the film. While Groot may seem to be one of the most unifying characters for the Guardians of the Galaxy crew, the reality is the actor voicing him is the exact opposite. According to reports, while filming Fast and Furious 7, he was an absolute nightmare while on set. This insider told The Hollywood Reporter Vin spent a whole day in his trailer one day. The next day, they waited 4 hours for him. He called a meeting of studio execs to his trailer for 2.5 hours to say, "What the F am I doing here?" And then the next day, work was done with doubles, and another source confirms that progress had been frustrating with the whole crew suffering from low morale. All thanks to Vin Diesel. In at number 2, Guy Pearce. Before starring as the slimeball villain Aldrich Killian in Iron Man 3, Pearce had a list of demands before he agreed to even take on the role. While his agency was excited at the opportunity to have their client involved with this project, Guy was a little more hesitant. He was very open about how he preferred to work with interesting directors and weighty material, but took the meeting because he enjoyed the first Iron Man film. Shane Black, who directed the film, was a big fan of Guy Pearce and was basically bending over backwards just to get him in the room for a meeting with Marvel Studios. Shane ran him through the general idea of how he would be involved in the film, but Pearce did end up telling his agent that he was not going to do the movie until they showed him the script. As we're sure you know by now, Marvel is very secretive about handing out material for projects because, well, they don't want any details leaked. Although when Pearce refused to take the role without a script, they emailed him a link that would expire after 2 hours. Last but certainly not least, on our number 1 spot, Anthony Hopkins. After Thor: The Dark World, Anthony Hopkins admitted that he had no interest in coming back as Odin for the following film, Thor: Ragnarok. Apparently, he had been so disinterested in the entire Thor franchise that he felt doing 2 movies was more than enough for him. It wasn't until Taika Waititi was announced to be directing the next movie that he agreed to stay on board. I guess when you've been acting as long as Anthony Hopkins has, you can kind of start throwing your weight around with demands. He was a big factor in the decision to make this film more comedic than its predecessor. He insisted again and again that he would not be part of the MCU if they decided to take the film in the same dark and gritty route that the previous one did. Sure enough, the film turned out to be a standalone classic of the franchise, but his posh attitude was duly noted by executives at the time.
This is the one and only Beyonce. Maybe when you have a net worth like hers, you can demand certain things that people like me never could. Back in 2013, articles surfaced exposing different diva behavior and demands that she had on her world tour. An alleged tour rider came forward and leaked that she demanded ridiculous things throughout the process. Some of them them were that her water must be chilled to 21 degrees and served with $900 titanium straws. The bathrooms must have new toilet seats and red toilet paper at every venue, and hand-carved ice balls had to be made for her to cool down her throat after every show. One of the arenas in the UK confirmed that she does need a lot of space backstage, and they had to provide her with these huge luxury dressing rooms for one person, which normally accommodates an entire sports team. Next up at number 9 is Johnny Depp. For a long time in his career, he was one of the most popular and respected actors in the industry. But over the past few years, he's been going through a lot of personal issues, most of which we have all seen over the media, which could be why he's had some conflict with people he has worked with. In 2018, he got sued after a crew member from City of Lies alleged that he had punched him. The man named Greg Brooks said he reeked of alcohol and got angry when he told the actor that they had one more attempt at the scene after many failed ones due to the actor being drunk or hungover. Apparently, he punched Greg in the ribs twice and even said that he would pay him $100,000 to punch him back. But Greg refused to engage in the fight and sued him instead. If you follow the actor, you know that he's going through a lot right now, but regardless, no one wants to show up to work to get punched in the ribs. Sliding into our number 8 spot is Bruce Willis. Similar to Johnny Depp, it appears like his reputation has changed over the years, and he is now considered to be one of the more difficult Hollywood actors to work with. He's been called out for bad behavior on set on more than one occasion, but the first time was in 2010 when he filmed Cop Out. The director, Kevin Smith, talked about his experience working with the actor and said it was soul crushing. Apparently at the wrap party, he said, "I want to thank everyone who worked on the film, except Bruce Willis, who is an effing D-word." And just a few years later, Sylvester Stallone dropped him from Expendables 3 and called him greedy and lazy, saying that he demanded a pay increase. So overall, just not a good reputation behind what we see on the screen. Moving along to number 7, we have Lacey Chabert. Most people will know her better as Gretchen Wiener from Mean Girls, which is part of the reason why no one really wants to work with her anymore. It's not that she's a diva or has a bad reputation, she's actually very nice. But she herself has admitted that despite the fact she's done other work, people always typecast her with Gretchen, which basically just shadows over all of her other films. She's actually done 16 Hallmark Channel productions, and most people don't even know. Not to mention her films haven't ranked in a ton of money, so she isn't as appealing as other actors when it comes to casting. But that has not stopped her from continuing a career and shifting her priorities a bit, and by that I mean that Gretchen Wiener is now a mom. Cruising to the number 6 spot is Mickey Rourke. Throughout the 80s, he was a hot commodity in the industry, but then things took a turn for the worse and he started gaining a nasty reputation for his outspoken and rude behavior. He landed on Hollywood's blacklist, so he turned to boxing instead for a number of years, but then made his return back to acting in 1997. He took on the villain in Marvel's Iron Man 2 movie, which is a huge opportunity for all actors, but his backtalk soon became an issue again. Apparently, he badmouthed the entire production and even called the leading man of Marvel, Kevin Feige, a nerd. He's been the first to admit his wrongs though. He once explained that he doesn't deserve an Oscar. He said, "I stupidly said acting wasn't a job for a real man. I threatened producers, raged at directors, and forgot my agent's name. I really burned my bridges." Well, at least you can admit it. Halfway through number 5 is Kiefer Sutherland. Some people have been vocal about enjoying their time working with the actor, but others have expressed that he's been very difficult to work with. So everyone might have a different experience and opinion based on their work with him. A fellow actor, Freddie Prinze Jr., was one of the people who said he had a horrible experience working with him. He spoke on it and said, I quote, "I did 24. It was terrible. I hated every moment of it. Kiefer was the most unprofessional dude in the world. That's not me talking trash, I would say it to his face. Everybody that's worked with him has said it." He even went as far as saying that he is part of the reason why he wanted to quit the business and actually slow down on his acting. And he's not the only co-star to come forward with claims like these. But there's just too many examples for me to get through, so trust my word when I say people online have spoken, and yeah, more than one co-star has said he's pretty hard to work with. Sniping the number 4 slot is Misha Barton. She made it big from her role as Marissa Cooper on the hit TV series The OC. She was even the youngest cast member at the time compared to the other leads. But one of her co-stars, Tate Donovan, spoke about the filming experience and said that she was, I quote, "the biggest diva on set." She had some trouble getting roles after that, with other people claiming that she had this sense of entitlement. As time has gone on, we've seen her slowly disappear from the spotlight after having issues with the law and a substance abuse. In recent years, she's tried to make a return but can't seem to land any roles. She did appear on MTV's reality show The Hills, the new reboot, but the reality show didn't get a second season. Alright guys, we made it to number 3 and we have Macaulay Culkin. It's not totally surprising that he's on this list, but we have to admit that it is a shame. He was a huge child star the majority of people adored watching every Christmas in his series Home Alone. Throughout his career though, things got bad and he quit acting, totally disappearing from the spotlight for years. His addiction and struggle with substance abuse kept him out of Hollywood for a long time, but in recent years he has tried to make a comeback. It's hard for him to book roles now though, with his past and also his current erratic behavior. Not to mention he is closely tied to Michael Jackson and has always come to the legend's defense, despite the horrible claims other men have made about him sexually assaulting them. He's made some comments and jokes about the victim's recent documentary, and many people thought that it was very insensitive and disrespectful, and yeah, I can see why they might not want to work with him. Winning the number 2 spot is Isaiah Washington, another talented actor who started to get a bad rep back in 2006 when reports surfaced that he had used a gay slur on the set of Grey's Anatomy towards his co-star TR Knight. He received a ton of backlash and issued an apology. He was able to gain some forgiveness from people, but definitely not all. 1 year later, he stirred up another controversy at the 2007 Golden Globes when he was caught uttering another anti-gay slur while he was backstage. He then issued a second apology and admitted that ABC had asked him to go through a counseling program. However, they couldn't be so forgiving to the actor who just keeps repeating the same mistake, so ABC decided that they had to fire him from his full-time role on the hit TV series Grey's Anatomy. In our number 1 spot is Amber Heard. You've probably heard of the chaotic lawsuit going on between Amber and her ex-husband Johnny Depp. It's been an ongoing lawsuit after she made claims that he had abused her, but then audio footage surfaced where she admitted that she made it up and that she hits him. The audio revealed her saying that no one would believe him and she would be able to ruin his career basically. Honestly, it's pretty hard to listen to. I listened to the whole thing. People everywhere have been infuriated and fans even started a petition on change.org to have her removed from Aquaman 2. As of February 4th, 2020, over 110,000 people have signed the petition and said that she deserves to be punished and not glamorize a domestic abuser. In their words. That's what they've said. The couple is going to settle it in court later this year, but in the meantime, she is facing a lot of negative attention, so it wouldn't be surprising to me if no one wanted to associate themselves with her just simply for that fact.
In at 10, Edward Norton. Edward Norton is partially responsible for destroying the Incredible Hulk, and that is no small feat. It's difficult to make a superhero movie bad. Just look at the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, Norton managed to do this with his version of the Incredible Hulk, which he insisted he rewrite and had fights with producers of the film's running time. The feud became very public in Hollywood, and Universal's Adam Fogelson was forced to plan a promotional tour that would avoid awkward media attention and interviews. After all the stress, the movie ended up being a flop regardless, and ever since, Edward Norton has never had a good standing in Hollywood, with most actors wanting to avoid working with him at all costs, because you never know what film he's gonna try and rewrite. In at 9, Mel Gibson. It has been over 10 years now since Mel Gibson's infamous DUI arrest, which led to the release of his anti-Semitic rant. However, though time has passed, the incident still remains at the forefront in the actor's life, with it directly impacting his career as an actor and as a director. 2016's Hacksaw Ridge was his first successful large-scale movie in a very long time. However, the actor/director does have some projects currently in the works, including a sequel to The Passion of the Christ. Yeah, those are words I never thought I would say. Shane Black, the writer and director of The Nice Guys and the writer of Lethal Weapon, chimed in on the Mel Gibson scandal, stating, "I think he's essentially been blacklisted in the industry. I think people don't want to work with him." While some have come forward to defend the actor, suggesting we give him a second chance, others aren't as forgiving, including the author of Starstruck, The Business of Celebrity, who said the situation is not
not the same thing as forgiving Lindsay Lohan for partying too late. Anti-Semitism is not just behaving badly. Preach. Coming in at 8, Lindsay Lohan. As a child star, Lindsay Lohan had a hugely successful acting career, appearing in work such as Freaky Friday, Mean Girls, and of course, The Parent Trap. However, as she got older and fell into drugs and alcohol, the media was abuzz with several public arrests and rehab stints. Her behavior ultimately got her kicked off of various sets and fired from a number of different movies, and then of course she failed to launch her own reality TV show. Her career trajectory would also lead her to starring in one of the worst and strangest movies of 2013, The Canyons, which no one should ever set their eyes upon. All in all, Lohan is not someone you'd be investing your money in, forcing some actors to steer away from the once shining star. Coming in at 7, Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman is one of the most prolific actors in Hollywood and one of the most legendary, appearing in work such as Tootsie, Rain Man, Midnight Cowboy, and The Graduate, even nabbing 2 Oscar wins along the way. Now, our list is primarily comprised of actors presumed to be difficult to work with. This is one of the only cases where the actor actually doesn't mind their reputation, and if anything, enjoys it. Hoffman throughout his career has been known to be somewhat of a tough guy, and incredibly difficult to work with simply because he wants everything to be perfect, in turn insisting on redoing takes multiple times. In between his huge roles, he successfully managed to garner a reputation for being a grueling actor, and it is well known that director Sidney Pollack would shout at him repeatedly because of it. In at 6, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl has always had a negative reputation in Hollywood for as long as she's been around, quite literally. She quickly earned herself the reputation of being awful, with Grey's Anatomy creator Shonda Rhimes turning Katherine's name into an adjective when describing her show Scandal. I quote, "There are no Heigls in this situation." However, Heigl clapped back, saying, "I would never go out my way or consciously try to hurt anyone's feelings or make them feel bad or uncomfortable or not being professional. Do my job. I like my job." All I can say to that is, sure, Jan. After starring in the movie Knocked Up, the star went on to make negative remarks about the movie and its portrayal of women, which as we know is not the way to make friends in the industry. Coming in at 5, Russell Crowe. This Oscar winner can nab any role he chooses seemingly, starring in works such as Gladiator, Les Miserables, even though he can't sing, A Beautiful Mind, LA Confidential, The Nice Guys, and Boy Erased, the latter being absolutely incredible with the star shining through. However, his behavior off-screen has affected things ever so slightly. In 1999, he got into a fight at the Plantation Hotel in Coffs Harbour, and years later, he yelled at a producer at the British Academy Film Awards. Not to mention, he was also arrested and accused of throwing a phone at a hotel employee before going on to start a weird feud with one of Hollywood's leading men, George Clooney. All in all, most actors either don't want to work with him or outright refuse. In at 4, January Jones. January Jones, best known for playing Betty Draper on the hit AMC series Mad Men, has been nominated for 2 Golden Globes and an Emmy. She is a fantastic actress, there's no doubt about that, with her appearing in other works such as The Last Man on Earth, X-Men First Class, Spinning Out, and Unknown. However, she is also known for being cold, with an unpleasant temperament. Well, at least that's how her co-stars have been describing her. It was also once said that January Jones was the one person you would never want to approach while on the set of Mad Men. According to comedian Zach Galifianakis, he claimed the star was incredibly rude to him during an encounter. However, Jones has responded to these claims, stating that she feeds off of the negativity that comes her way as a form of motivation to do better. I mean, some people say I'm cold, so retweet. In at 3, Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase has had a long-running comedy career, however it has finally begun to take a downward turn due to his terrible behavior. The actor first built up his reputation on Saturday Night Live, however even back then he was well known for being rude and antagonistic towards certain cast members, to the point that when he eventually left SNL, nobody really cared. Chase was of course a regular on the comedy show Community, but then he went on to openly diss it, stating, "It's just a mediocre sitcom. I want people to laugh, and this isn't funny." This in turn led to him having a very public feud with the show's creator Dan Harmon. Chase began refusing to be in certain episodes, and the actor went on to leave Harmon incredibly angry voicemails, which of course leaked to the public. Harmon was surprisingly the one fired, however he was brought back when Chase left the show. God bless. Coming in at number 2, Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow has had quite the career spanning over the last 2 decades, well technically 3 now. She's appeared in works such as Seven, Shakespeare in Love, for which she won an Oscar, The Talented Mr. Ripley, The Royal Tenenbaums, and of course she plays Pepper Potts in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. All that being said, she also has a terrible reputation on and off the screen. It has been said by countless people that Paltrow is not an enjoyable person to work with or even be around due to her coldness and demands as an actress.
actress. Most of this seems to stem from her apparent unpleasantness, which is why she was voted the most stuck-up actress in Movie Line magazine back in 1998. That being said, she hasn't failed to find work as of yet, but I would love to know how her co-stars are feeling. Probably not great. And finally, in at number 1, Shia LaBeouf. This should really come as no surprise. Anyone who has seen Transformers or even heard about the movie knows of Shia LaBeouf. Outside of his Disney days starring Even Stevens, it was Transformers that shot the actor to superstardom. He would go on to appear in works such as Fury, The Peanut Butter Falcon, Honey Boy, Lawless, and Disturbia, as well as the one movie we really hate to discuss, Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. However, in recent years, Shia has been known to be a challenge on and off set, specifically revolving around his strange method acting approach, often leading to run-ins with his fellow co-stars. There are even stories of the actor being involved in physical fights on set, especially on the set of Lawless, where he supposedly punched Tom Hardy, as well as on the set of Fury. Not to mention he had a very public feud with Alec Baldwin, whom he had done a Broadway play with, which led to the actor being fired.